Awesome. Hey everyone, this is Sharon Desjarlais, and welcome to the unveiling of the big secret I've been keeping from you guys. So as many of you know, I'm a hypnotherapist and I specialize in helping women dissolve fear and unworthiness so they can think clearly, act decisively, and own their own personal power. And I've been using a lot of different techniques over the years, but a while ago, I stumbled on something that completely changed my practice and changed my clients' results. And I fell in love with it, and my clients fell in love with it. And it became such a big deal to me that I decided to do something absolutely crazy. I became recently the first HypnoFit clinic in the United States. So HypnoFit is a company that started in Australia about a decade ago. And the methods and the programs that I have learned through them have been just so amazing that I couldn't resist just going in completely. And rather than me tell you what this is all about, what I've decided to do was bring my dear friend and partner, Helen, the founder of HypnoFit, on to talk about the company and her journey and how she got here. So Helen, you started this company about 10 years ago in Australia, is that right? Yeah,
Yep,
so
May 2010.
May 2010. Wow, I like the fact that you remember. Do you remember what day, May 2010, by any chance?
Well, 31st of May 2010.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, and I want to just mention, you teach all over the world, I know that. And for anyone who has seen Helen, you've probably heard she was the Hypnotherapist of the Year of 2018 in the US for the very
Yeah.
prestigious Mid-Atlantic Conference. And so you've been around, sister.
Yes, I have, and I never expected to be.
So tell me
So
about that.
when I first started this business, 10 and a half years ago now, all I really wanted to do was do the work that I loved and get paid the same amount of money that I was getting paid in my corporate life. That was it. If I was getting paid the same amount of money that I was on in corporate, which was a good salary, which allowed me to do the things that I wanted to do, and I did the work that I loved, then that was what I wanted. I didn't really envisage anything more than that at the time.
And so what in the world are you doing here then? How did we get to America? I mean, so all you wanted to do is replace your income pretty much from the corporate world, right? And, a lot of people have gone into hypnotherapy, love it, do it, have full practices for years, but it wasn't enough for you, was it?
No, well, the thing is, what was actually happening for me was that I decided that, I couldn't, I had 1 year to make sure that I was earning the same amount of money that I was earning in the corporate world, which was a 6-figure income. So the reason that I say 1 year is because I didn't actually resign. I asked for a year unpaid leave because I wanted that security blanket, but I knew in my heart I wasn't going to go back. And in fact, my manager said to me, I know you're not going to come back. We know that you're going to be successful, but yes, here's your 1 year unpaid leave so that, if you want to come back, the door's open for you. And so I knew that it had to be that I had to earn 6 figures in my first year. I had to. Otherwise, I couldn't afford to sustain my mortgage. So in Australia, we have our mortgages are way, way bigger than the average mortgage in the United States. So at the time, my mortgage was with 2 properties going on to $1 million. So yeah, our mortgages are very high here in Australia. And so it wasn't a matter of, let's just see if this works or if this doesn't. If it didn't work, I would lose my house, and that wasn't an option. And so I had to make it work. I had to have a successful business. And what I was seeing was that I was going, to a number of networking events with fellow hypnotherapists, and they were struggling. They couldn't, make ends meet. They were still working in another job. They were, not able to see enough clients so that they could put their skills to good use. And that I see as the biggest shame is hypnotherapists who have got the fire inside their belly, who have got the passion to help clients, and yet they weren't able to know what to do to create a successful business. They had no idea because they're a therapist, they're not a business. They didn't have that business hat on, they had the therapist hat on, and so they didn't know how to interchange the two. And so I decided that I needed to teach my fellow hypnotherapists how to create a successful business, just like I had for myself. And so the doors then opened in terms of people finding success in their own businesses, and me touring around Australia doing that, and then going overseas to do that. So here I am 10 years later with clinics in Melbourne, Brisbane, Sydney, Auckland, and now the United States.
I love it. And so you have to tell me, this is kind of wild. So you look around and everyone, the hypnotherapists out there were struggling. And here you left your corporate job for at least a year and you had to make a go of it. Did you freak out a little bit when you realized that there wasn't an obvious path? I mean, and did
Totally.
you have to, as a business coach, I'm curious, as a former business coach, did you have to look outside the field to figure this out?
Yes. So the way that I did it, I wasn't prepared to do anything that freaked me out in terms of too much risk. So I had a transition process. So whenever I say my transition story, many people can relate to which part of the journey they're on. So it's not like here I trained up and now let's just quit my job for a year. And because I didn't have a year's salary in terms of savings to be any sort of buffer. So I couldn't do that. I couldn't work in a secure job one day and then work as a hypnotherapist the next day. It's not how it happened. The way that it happened was that I had a full-time job as my last job was as a consultant, as a project manager, and I would see clients all day Saturday and Wednesday night and Thursday night. Now, the reason I chose those 2 nights, they're the only 2 nights that I didn't have my son. He was with his dad on those 2 nights, and I wasn't prepared to see clients on nights that I had him. So Wednesday night and Thursday night, by the time I got back from the city, from work and so on, I literally could see 1 client on Wednesday night, 1 on Thursday night, and 5 on Saturday. So that's 7 clients that I could see every week whilst still having a full-time job to pay the bills, so that I wasn't risking anything. There was no risk because I was still getting a full-time salary. Now, this is the mindset that I had, and this is really important, I feel, is that I made a decision very early that that's my future, which is hypnotherapy, and I was not prepared for my future to be compromised because of my current circumstances. So when my current circumstances would get in the way of my future dreams, the current circumstances had to change, not my future dreams. And I find that a lot of hypnotherapists or therapists or business owners or entrepreneurs do it the other way around. They're like, I can't do that because of this.
Right.
That doesn't make sense. You have to do that. So what needs to change here? And so I decided that my rule was going to be that if I started to lose clients because they weren't prepared to wait until the next Saturday was available, 3 months down the track, then I would have to give up 1 day from my current work. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense.
And then that's what happened. The first time someone said, look, I can't wait 3 months, because that was the next opening for a Saturday or a Wednesday night or a Thursday night. It was like, well, okay, now this is my first client that I'm going to lose. I've got to do something about it. So I dropped off my first day of work, which was Monday, because I never wanted to drop off any other day except Monday first.
Right.
Because Sunday night was always at that point in my journey. It's like, when you love your work so much and you start to really resent this other work that gives you no joy. And it's just like, it's wasting my time. I don't want to spend time there and my energy, and I don't like doing this type of work anymore. And so Sunday nights, I started to have heart palpitations. I started to have panic attacks because it was like, I don't want to go. I just don't want to do it. I don't want to go the next day. I don't want to go the next day. And this was a Sunday night thing for me. And so the first day that I dropped off was Monday.
Yeah,
Not
that wasn't a
Friday.
hard decision.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
Friday, because Friday's like, in Australia, it was like casual Friday. Everyone's in a good mood. Friday night drinks. It's like the party day. So I wasn't going to drop the party day. So, you know, it's funny. Everybody drops Friday first to make it, you know, that side of the weekend. I went the other way. And then I had this. So then I was seeing clients on Mondays, clients on Fridays. So that's 10 clients there. And then 2 during the week. That's 12 clients a week. And so then I had the same rule again, which was, okay, if this happens again where my calendar gets too full and I can't put clients in there, I have to drop a day, as scary as that is, to drop another day. And it happened. And so I went back to my manager and I said, okay, now I need to drop another day. And he went, Helen, now this is becoming, you know, he said, already we've given you, you know, a part-time job, you know, when it's a senior project manager. No senior project manager has part-time work. And now you're wanting to work 3 days. He goes, that's unheard of. No senior managers work 3 days a week. It's unheard of. But he said, this is what I'll do for you. I will support you. In other words, you know, still pay my salary if you find the clients, because they would find all our clients. Like, we never, as consultants, we were paid full time. You know, we were paid sick leave, annual leave, but we didn't have to look for clients. They did all of that and made sure that one was backed after the other. Yeah. So it was, I was an employee. I wasn't a contractor. I was a full-time employee. And he said, if you can find someone who's prepared to take you on for 3 days a week, we'll still support you. We'll still pay your salary. So what I did was I went for a job interview where it was a full-time project management role, but I convinced them I could do the job in 3 days a week, because that's a win-win. That meant that they only paid, because they would pay a daily rate for consultants to my company. At the time, it was $1,200 a day. So this is 10 years ago, they would pay $1,200 a day for me. And so instead of paying, you know, $1,200 times 5, they pay $1,200 times 3. And this person says she can do the job. Win-win, right? You know,
I love it. I love it.
So that's what I did.
Yeah.
And then what actually happened was, the next step after that was that synchronicity had it and the universe worked its magical powers, and I ended up on the radio without me planning to be on the radio. In the middle of the day, talkback radio, talking about my passion. My phone blew up in phone calls.
Nice.
And, you know, it wasn't expected. I didn't intend it. I didn't plan it. And it was because, this is what I believe, Sharon, because I was giving all my energy into this business, and now I had different vision about what the business was. It wasn't just about replacing the salary. I wanted it to be a really successful business and make a big impact into people's lives, because I could see with the clients that I was already seeing, you know, imagine if I could see more than that. And so this became and so the universe supported that vision. And I ended up primetime radio. And basically at that time, I couldn't even get back to those clients to respond to them, you know, in terms of when I could see them, unless I resigned from my work.
Right.
So it had to, and I was petrified, because that goes back to your original question, was how did you feel? Petrified, because, you know, at that time I had established myself in the corporate world with a reputation that was, you know, I had a good life. I had a corporate credit card. I had a car spot in the middle of the CBD, you know, which otherwise would cost a fortune.
We have no idea where that is, but I trust you that it costs a fortune.
Well, I mean,
the CBD.
in the middle of the central business district of Melbourne, so in the city, right in the middle of the city. Car parks are very expensive, right? Yeah. So that was all paid for by the business, and I was able to. At that time in my life, I was a fitness junkie, and so I was running every day, and so nobody questioned the fact that every day I would take 1 hour and 20 minutes for lunch. My weekends were mine, so it was pretty good setup. I had worked in corporate for 22 years, so I worked for where I was at, and so there was a lot that I was going to give up. But all of a sudden, to go to a place where I'm in charge of my income. Nobody pays me if I get sick. Nobody pays me if I decide to go on holidays, whereas they would if I was working for another business. No other benefits. If it's a corporate card, it's mine that I have to pay for.
Yeah, right.
So all of a sudden, so it was terrifying. But I tell you what, and this is every time I've made a terrifying choice, and I've made terrifying choices all my life, is that it's terrifying until you do it.
Mm.
So the moment I resigned, it was like this chain was finally lifted from my neck and I was free and I could breathe.
Wow.
Because now I could focus 100% on what I loved and what brought me joy, rather than feeling so resentful that I had to go and, really my purpose in my job as a consultant is always to add to the bottom line of big companies. It's always about profit. It was never about the greater good. So, to give that up, but it was a transition. And this is what I want people to know. It's not like you've studied a course and, okay, where are the clients? And then be really surprised they don't rock up. Things have to be in order. And it was for me. So really, when you think about it, yes, I risked it, but it was a risk that was managed in a real conservative way, because I am an economist by trade. So I studied, I've got a Bachelor of Commerce majoring in economics at university. And so that's the way I think, like an economist. Mm-hmm. And so it was a managed risk into this world of hypnotherapy, which everybody thought I was crazy for doing. My family thought that I had gone mad. And
well, they don't know that that's not the case, right?
Exactly.
Mad in a good way, right?
Exactly. We have to be a bit abnormal to do things differently.
And I think to risk, really, to anyone who's, as you said, is an entrepreneur, there's some risk involved, and the way you described it, that if there's something that you want in the future, you're not going to let go of your dreams. You're going to change your present circumstances. So that is really unusual for a lot of people who, they're passionate about what they're doing, but they still have some fear and insecurity about really showing up fully in the world. Now, I know a little bit about your story about what made you fall in love with hypnotherapy, because I don't think that you always felt that secure. I mean, maybe you did growing up, but if I remember correctly, you had kind of a dark time before you came to hypnotherapy.
Absolutely. So over 20 years ago, I was at the, my first marriage was ending, and it was my decision. And I had a little boy. My little boy is turning 27 next week. And he's turning 27 next week. Incredible. But, I was brought up in a very strict family with the values were very much that you did not separate, you did not divorce. I was the youngest of 5, and my elder siblings were like parents to me. So the youngest of 5 by a long shot. So they were all, if I got in trouble as a teenager, I had 6 lectures, because each one of them would tell me off, So, and they're very much, they still baby me, even though I'm 52 or 53. What am I? 53. Oh my God.
I love that you don't remember. That's awesome.
I don't know, something around there. And so over 20 years ago, I had made the decision to, leave my first husband. And they couldn't understand that. It was very difficult for them to understand, because he is a good man. He really is. So he's a good man. He was a great father, a great partner. And, my mother said to me, I don't understand. He's not an alcoholic. He's never hit you. He doesn't gamble. Like, in her mind and in her world, they are the only 3 reasons as to why you, and then you're, it's okay, but it's still a hard choice, but you've got then a reason, a valid reason. So I didn't have a valid reason as to why that needed to happen. And so I fell into depression because I felt helpless and hopeless, and really like I couldn't make decisions for myself, and that I was in no position to make a decision for myself. And really I felt like I was stuck. And so I had chronic anxiety, panic attacks, depression. And I don't use that word lightly. I really did have a period of time where every day I would howl from, it felt like my stomach. It was no wonder that I got IBS during that time, irritable bowel syndrome, and I still have it. But, you know, that at that time, it completely flipped my world in terms of my own values. See, and this is the thing with depression, is that people fall into depression when they are misaligned with their own values. Okay. So when your thoughts, feelings, and actions are misaligned, that's depression. You are likely to fall into depression, especially when they're misaligned in a big way. So what I was going through at the time, I was misaligned. What I thought was right, I wasn't doing what I thought was right. So who I thought I wasn't acting like that person. I wasn't behaving like that person. I had this, you know, image in my mind of what a perfect wife is, perfect mother is, and that wasn't what I was acting at the time. So it was no wonder that I fell into depression, because that's what depression is about. We're misaligned. We're not in alignment. And that's what happened to me. And so it was a very dark place, but I wouldn't exchange that for anything, because that has led me to our conversation here today, which I wouldn't give up for anything, right? So it's given me so much insight into, because my business became a business that specialized in helping people who were experiencing depression and anxiety, I could speak firsthand without saying, you know, without appearing arrogant or appearing like, well, you know, people knew that I knew, because I felt it and I experienced it and I overcame it. I've been there. So I felt that I could say the tough stuff that I needed to say because I'd been there. So if I hadn't experienced it, you know, calling it out for what I believed it was, which is not a mental disorder, is a very big deal. So now I'm not saying all depression is in that category. You know, obviously the exclusion is psychotic depression. There's many different types of depression. Psychotic depression is a mental disorder and an illness, but that is very different and very different symptoms to all other types of depression, which I'm talking about. So yeah, I don't know if I think I've answered that question. I'm not sure if
you
I
did.
have.
And you specialize in adolescents with depression now? Is that true?
Well, I did go through a phase that was certainly a part of the journey. I loved helping adolescents who experience depression, because their minds are so flexible. Hypnotherapy is so fabulous for them, and it just gave me such, you know, it was so heartwarming to feel that you're a part of that incredible journey, where you can see the transformation of an adolescent who has opted out of school, who doesn't want to work, who doesn't want to get out of bed, who is riddled with anxiety about what their friends think about them or what the world thinks about them, where they're cutting, you know, suicidal ideation, all the rest of that, to the point where I can see them now in social media and everywhere else living their lives as, you know, the beautiful humans that they are, and those barriers, those programs, you know, are gone. And so it gave me a lot of joy to help, definitely to help adolescents. But in terms of my journey, you know, I specialize in different areas at different times according to where I was at the time.
I love that, Vera. So it's very true to your own journey. And now, of course, you're here to conquer the world, right?
Well, you know what, Sharon, you know, I don't know if it conquers the word, but at this time in history is monumental in terms of what's happening around the world. Monumental. I'm grateful to be here. It sounds like a selfish thing to say, because there's so many people who are going through hard times and hardship, and think, well, how could she say that? I'm saying that because I'm feeling what's happening in 2020 has to happen to move us to a high level of consciousness, where hypnotherapy is, you know, charging forward at such an accelerated rate as being the go-to profession for life's biggest challenges, so that people do not, you know, as a first port of call, you know, when things are going on inside them that they can't cope with, they don't automatically think, well, what drug can I take? You know, so just, you know, to make it clear, I'm not, you know, the anti-vaccine camp. You know, I'm not any camp.
Yeah,
You
you're
know,
camp. I happen to know you're camp free.
yeah, I'm camp free. So I'm not, you know, anti-vaccine, anti-medication, not at all. I totally appreciate and respect the world of medicine and science. Totally, totally. But there is definitely, we were at a point in our life's history where, you know, antidepressants were massively overused, massively.
Yeah.
So people were looking for a band-aid rather than a solution to what was really going on underneath. And that, you know, is really what my mission is all about, is about helping the world to empower themselves.
Yeah.
So it's not really about me conquering the world. It's about us facilitating, as hypnotherapists, change through. So we're just facilitators. That's all we are, is facilitators. You know, we're not, hypnotherapists are not, you know, gods, or they're not, you know, we're just facilitators. We came to the earth to facilitate and to help people connect to their own inner wisdom.
I love that. And it's one of the things that really drew me to your work in particular. You know, you mentioned that you really believe this is a time when we have the opportunity to kind of evolve into a higher level of consciousness, and you know, just with those around us, right? To have compassion and generosity of spirit and generosity of heart. And I think if there's ever been a time that has shown us that we're only as strong as the weakest of us, it is right now, right? And what's remarkable to me is the therapy I learned from you really engages that higher level of consciousness. And we're able to deliver it right now without driving to an office or having someone come to a treatment center. You know, you've been doing this. I know you pivoted immediately when the lockdown started to doing all of this online. Is that right, on Zoom?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, you know, I never ever want to be on the back foot. So I always want to make sure that I am the one who's driving my, you know, outcomes, not some government decision. And so it's about predicting what is the government, you know, what are the possibilities here, rather than so many, you know, people that I saw, entrepreneurs and business owners, were like, oh, let's wait and see, you know, let's wait and see, let's hope, hope, you know. No, it's about, you know, what are the possibilities? How do we reduce risk so that at this time in history, when our clients need us the most, we show up. We don't hide and wait for something to pass over. We lead by example. We show up for them and say, hey, we're here for you. We're here for you. This is really effective via Zoom. And of course, you already knew this, Sharon, before me, because you were already 100% of your business was online. So you were already there, girl. Whereas
it's pretty ironic, right?
Yeah, we had to pivot to where you already are. Yeah. So you already did that call. So for those of you who are listening, because I'm going to share this onto my page as well, you know, Sharon Desjarlais from North Carolina in the United States, who's my HypnoFit partner, she can see anybody, you know, all over the world. And this is not something she's pivoted to. She's always done this. And she's an experienced therapist who's done this for, you know, how many decades now have you been? I
was first certified through the National Guild in 1993. So let's not talk about how many decades that's been.
That's the year my son was born. That's the year
my son was
born.
Really?
I gave 1993, September 93 is when I gave birth.
That was between my two children.
There you go. So
beautiful.
Exciting times.
It is exciting times. And, you know, I want to just say, my decision to become a partner of yours, it was very much like that. Suddenly it was just in the air. The opportunity was there. You know, I could have said no, I could have waited. I could have, you know, just waited to see, but something just said, yes, do it now. And I think that we're moving into a time now where we're going to have lots of opportunities in a lot of different ways to say, yes, let's do it now, whatever that may be. And I'm not sure where this is going to take me, but I know how I feel right now. And it's just going to take me to the next step. You know, the way we're all processing how to determine how to go through life, we can no longer necessarily trust the external guideposts we might have looked to in the past, right? all of those markers have changed and are in the process of changing. So I love that you're on the same wavelength as I am, right? About, just feel it and it
Totally.
feels good, go for it. You can always course correct.
Absolutely. And more than ever, I believe more and more people will be listening to their heart as opposed to the fear in their head. And what I love, about you, Sharon, is that when you said to me that, you had a lot of queries about becoming a partner, a lot of questions, but in the end, you said to yourself, and you asked yourself this question, and the question you asked yourself was, if I didn't have any fear at all, what would I do? Because fear holds us back.
Right.
We're given this chance. We're in this monumental year, in this amazing time in history to, feel the fear, acknowledge it, respect it, and honor it, and do it anyway. Like the wonderful book by Susan Jeffers, which is magnificent.
Right.
Do it anyway. Do it anyway.
And I realized that was the only thing standing in my way. And I think sometimes people don't take time necessarily to stop and say, is there something else besides just fear? And I appreciated that you got to be there to help me demonstrate to myself that I've lived long enough and have enough kind of internal wisdom to know that if that's the only thing stopping me, then I need to take this step. Because the way I feel and the way I felt going into this, the way I feel now, and the way I feel with my clients when we use these processes is just, I am absolutely overjoyed. And I can't thank you enough. I really can. I'm just delighted to partner with you. I'm delighted to represent your work in the world. I'm delighted to be on the journey with you.
Thank you, Sharon. And of course, I feel exactly the same way, that you're on this journey. We're on this journey together. And what you just said is so important, because it's, when we talk about having a successful business as therapists, we didn't get into this game so that we can, make $1 million. We didn't, and many of us could have stayed in our other jobs to do that. We got into this because we want to help the world and we want to help people. And, that's what makes us happy. But this is the thing, right? That the more successful your business is, the more impact you make, the more lives you change. So it's not something that works against each other, it works together. The more successful your business, the more impact you make, the more lives you change, so that we can together fill the world full of empowered souls. Because ultimately that's what we want, is people to understand how amazing they are. Everybody is amazing, and they have this unique gift inside them. When I first started doing this work, it would blow me away as to the wisdom that would come from my clients. I have so much respect for their inner wisdom. This is stuff that the conscious mind isn't capable of connecting to on its own, because there's too many blocks and too many programs and too many systems in the way. What hypnosis does is remove that and connect right back to their higher self.
Beautiful. Couldn't have said it better myself, even though I might have tried. Well, any last words of wisdom you want to share before we part ways today?
Yes. Well, what I'd like to say is, for those of you who are listening to this interview, and if you are in a place at this very moment in time when you're feeling like it's too hard, you're feeling like, that, control, the word control comes to mind. People feeling like governments are controlling them. People are feeling like their life isn't in their control. I just want to say to you that it is. It is. It absolutely is. So how you respond to everything is within your control. So, in Melbourne right now, we're one of the cities in the world that's, undergoing the biggest lockdown. We've been in some sort of lockdown since March this year. So really our whole year has been in lockdown, and, we've got curfews, we've got very limited activity that we're permitted to do. Interestingly, my social media company told me yesterday I had to do new photos. I said, well, I can't, because I can't see my hairdresser. So,
first things first.
I can't, I'm not going to do a photo without my hair being done, right? So, but I feel free and I feel joyous, and and I know that I'm free. I know no one's controlling me. No one's controlling how I'm thinking and how I'm feeling and how I'm experiencing life. And I know that we're all going to come out of this experience more grateful than ever, more patient than ever, because we've this is a world where we've had to, instant gratification. You don't have to walk to the TV anymore to turn the knob. A lot of people won't even understand what that means. Everything
Right.
is, people don't have to sit through commercials. It's instant gratification. I learned very quickly that my son has never read instructions to anything that he has ever been given, because they don't have that kind of patience. What COVID has done is force us to say, just wait.
Yeah.
Just wait. Everything will be fine. So the message that I want to send to everyone is we are already okay. We are already okay. And beyond this, I can only see a brighter world. And I can only see a world where our consciousness is going to vibrate at a much higher level than ever. And you are not alone. You don't have to do this alone. I've never done anything alone. So you might hear my story and think, well, I've achieved everything I set out. Not by myself. So I've always had the assistance of someone else all through that journey. So we're here for you. We're all here for you. So if you are interested in getting some help in wherever you are in your journey in life, we're not here to tell you something. We're here for you, to facilitate you telling yourself what you need to know, what your soul needs to know. And so if that is something that you want, Sharon is here for you. So we're all here for you. So put a comment in, maybe, what about a love heart? How about
I
you put a
love
love,
that.
put a love heart in Sharon's feed, in her comments, and Sharon can connect with you so she can help you out with whatever is going on in your life, because she's there for you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Well, this has been wonderful spending this time with you and with all of you, letting you know what's new here, what's going on, and let me just say lots more to come. So thank you, Helen,
Thank you, Sharon,
for
for this
everything.
time.
So appreciate it. We'll talk again soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye.